Hi there. I am going to do a tag to KellyBear, which is her 54321 tag that is revisited. And the first, it has 5 prompts, and it's kind of fun. You start out with 5 of something and go down to 1 of something. So the first part of the tag is 5 tarot decks. So I'm going to show you 5 decks that are in print, that are not seen all the time, that I haven't showed lately. So I thought this would be really fun to do. So the first one is the Dark Angels Tarot by Luca Russo. And this deck is a little bit of a different perspective. It's definitely got a little bit of a spooky vibe, as you could tell by the name Dark Angels. I think it came out maybe in 2010, but it feels like early 2000s to me. The art does. And the guidebook on this deck is kind of fun because it looks at everything from a shadow angle. Like, for example, 4 of Swords, and a 4 of, maybe this isn't the best example. The angel soothes the broken soul and sings them to eternal sleep. So it takes the normal RWS meaning, but adds a little bit of a dark twist to it. And even the positive cards have a little bit of a dark twist to them. So it's kind of fun that way. And I just really enjoy this deck. I haven't played with it in a while. I've had it for a long time. But I like how it just kind of turns and twists things a little bit and gives you a different look. And it's nice that it's got a certain perspective and has that old kind of art that I think a lot of people like and is still in print. So let's look at like the Hierophant, the guidebook on the Hierophant. So I think this might give you a sense of the deck. The Hierophant: even as the world dies, mankind needs something to worship, something in which to believe. The acolytes stand before the unseen angel and beg to be instructed in how they should face oblivion. So it's just kind of a fun one. And it's something that isn't shown every day, but I liked having 5 decks that you could just easily get for not too much money in this prompt. And these all have kind of a spookier vibe to them. Let's look at the Empress, because the Empress is really interesting in this deck. At the end of time, the Empress of the Angels nurtures the dreams of witches past. She is the mother of death, and she is the bearer of pain. They dwell within her, and she rules over them. So you can just kind of get this sense of this deck being a little different than what you normally see. And I really like playing with this. And when I read with this deck, I'm going to show you just a minor card too. Let's look at the 2 of Pentacles. Or the 2 of Discs, I think, in this deck. 2 of Discs. Need must be balanced with desire. Not all can be taken through the gate. So just kind of a fun perspective. And I sometimes just love this old art style. And it's maybe not done the way you would see something done today. But no matter, I sometimes just really enjoy this style. It reminds me of just when I was doing readings for people when I was younger. Okay, so that is the Dark Angels Tarot by Luca Russo. Okay, next I'll show you Tarot of Haunted House. And this is a deck, Sasha Graham. The art is by Mirco Pietro. I don't know how to pronounce that exactly, so sorry about that. This deck is shown more often. It's a really good one. And this is, it's a story that takes place in the castle. The woman marries the guy at the castle. And then it's a story about her finding her way and getting stronger and like facing her challenges and then coming through them. So it's fun in that. And then there's her spine. And the Lovers there. But it's a really good beginner deck, I think, because it does follow the system enough that I think anybody could read it. But it's a different twist, and it's kind of spooky season, and it's just really well done. And I also just think the deck is a beautiful deck. And I use this most years. This year I'm not using it as one of my spooky season decks because I'm trying to rotate my decks more. But I will definitely miss using this deck, I think. But I'm really trying to just mix things up a little. But I wanted to show it because it is mass market. It is in print. I have not heard this one is going out of print. So, and look at that. Look at the death card. Anyway, I think this one's fun. And, you know, Sasha, and those are the backs. Aren't the backs gorgeous? The backs are beautiful on this deck. So Sasha Graham's decks are often beautiful. So that's Tarot of Haunted House. Next, I'm going to show you the Barberry Tarot. I love this deck. I think this is a really pretty one. I love all of his art, though, and I have all of his oracle decks. But it's nice to have a tarot, and it is that old-style tarot with the big borders, that kind of low scarabeo type deck that you saw 20 years ago. This is not that old, I don't think, but it does have a spooky season vibe, and it almost kind of feels like 90s, early 2000 artwork. But I enjoy the artwork, and I enjoy using this deck. And I just think it's kind of a good one. And it doesn't feel very modern, but sometimes it's nice to have decks that don't feel as modern. And this is just a mass market imprint deck. Kind of dramatic, which seems perfect this time of year. And it's got that dark, spooky feeling. And it's got the light and vibe of this time of year. Just really pretty. So that is the Barberry Tarot by Paolo Barbieri. All right, next I'm going to show you the Book of Shadows by Barbara Moore. And this is the As Above version. And I do not have the below version. So this one is really kind of a Wiccan-based deck, and the majors are kind of more Wiccan-oriented, and then the minors are more elemental-oriented. I think the art in this deck is really beautiful. It's by 4 different artists, but I think it goes well together. And I think the deck works well. Later, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there was a version of it that came out with, I think, both the above and below in it. But you can still get this version of it on its own. And it's just, you know, a regular plain old mass market deck. But I really enjoy using this, and I use it a lot of times around the Esbats and the Sabbats, and for specific purposes. And I always enjoy this deck. I think it's really pretty. And I think they did a good job of blending the artists' work together. And you can tell that there's different artists in this deck, but it works. And it's just a fun one. And I do really like using it. I think it's really beautiful. I think all 4 of the artists did incredible work in the deck. And the guidebook is helpful, and it's a little white book, but it's pretty good. Like, we'll look at the 6 of Earth. Trees and forests. Transition from one state to another state is a touchstone, a safe place. A dark and confused situation brimming with unknown elements and danger is the reverse meaning. But it kind of takes, it's not as good as the Dark Angels guidebook, but, you know, like I love Embulk, which is the star. They do a nice job, I think, of just tying things together in a cohesive way in this deck. And I really enjoy it. All right, lastly, I'll show you the Dark Fairytale. I know this deck was curated by Pietro Ligo, who is somebody that is an artist themselves, an incredible artist. But I don't think they did the art for this deck. So I'm not actually sure who created this deck. Or if Llewellyn, I think it was, no, Lo Scarabeo maybe, created this one. Anyway, this is a very good dark deck. The pictures are pretty clear in this deck. You can tell that it was made in the last 20 years. I think this deck's probably 10 or 12 years old because I've probably had it for 10 years. And I think I saw it before I got my hands on it, but it wasn't at my local store and I didn't know where to get it at the time until one time it showed up in the store that I went to. So it's not too old, but it does remind you a little bit of that, like early 2000 style, but I don't think it's that old. This deck looks at shadows of things, and it does look at, you know, bringing things forward. Like, let's look at the Seven of Cups in the guidebook here. So it does give you a little bit different perspective, and nothing is just completely rosy. Many things can be found in the cup. Not all are worth the cost of purchase. Some are, but the shadows of dreams. So I kind of like the guidebook in this one. It's small, but it's pretty well done. And I like the art. It is kind of a style I enjoy. I do love the Fool in this. I think the Fool is really cool. And then let's look at Six of Pentacles, because sometimes I like to look at that card because it can have a little bit of a different feel to it in different decks. When the wealthy give to those less fortunate, their aid should be bestowed with an open heart if both are to benefit, which is not always the case. So I like that they bring that up. Anyway, it is a deck that I do enjoy. It's still in print. And it's just kind of a fun one for this time of year. You know, I don't know. It might not be a good spring deck, but for spooky season and through the winter, I think it is fun to use. And I don't know if you lived in Australia, if this is the type of, or New Zealand or down south, if you want to use this, because I think Halloween is the same time of year, but maybe you use more spring. I'm not sure what you'd use in that situation. So that's the box of the Dark Fairytale Tarot. And I just don't know exactly who the author and artist are on this. All right, next I am going to show you 4 books because the prompt was 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the 4 was 4 different tarot books. Is a book that isn't necessarily a spooky season book, but it is a book that I read at the beginning of the year that I thought was really fun, and I do think it's really good to help somebody get to know tarot. And this one goes through all of the elements, suit by suit, and it has readings for all of the elements and how elemental readings work and why you would want to do them and where to start if you don't know what to do. This is a really good book at just taking you through the basics step by step. And it is really a fun deck, and I really enjoyed doing the readings in this book. And, you know, I have a lot of experience, but I learned things from this book. And so you see that it takes you through each of the suits, and then you have a section on spirit and kind of bringing it all together. And then it has a bunch of spreads in this book that are fun. And you can ask a question and use an elemental spread. It's just really well done. It's by Melissa Cynova, who also did Kitchen Table Tarot, which is also a really good book for beginners. This is a book that could be an intermediate book, or it could be for beginners, but I think anybody would benefit from this book. And it's not necessarily spooky season per se, but it is really an interesting deck that you could use for spooky season. All right, next I'm going to show you the Tarot Almanac, which came out last year. And this is like a seasonal deck for, you know, working with your cards. And it goes through things month by month. And I thought it was fun because I thought I'd show you the October chapter. And it has cards that relate to each of the months or seasons. And it talks about, at the beginning, I think it talks about like the qualities, cardinal, fixed, mutable of different signs, how you look at things, and then it goes through some of the cards of that season, and then some of the cards that are associated with like decans or the astrological parts of the tarot. So that's kind of cool. And then it looks at those court cards, like Queen of Swords, of course, is associated with Libra, Scorpio. And then it does like vision board spreads, and it does tarot scopes for each of the months. And I just thought it's a really fun deck, and one you could totally use this time of year. So Tarot Almanac by Bess Matassa. Really fun one. Another one that I think is really great is Sasha Graham's Magic of Tarot. This is really well done. Could be a good beginner deck, or you could use it if you've done quite a bit of reading and things. So it talks a lot about setting up your questions and the difference between good and bad questions and how to improve those questions. So if you don't know how to write a question and you're asking things from your tarot cards, it works on how to get a really clear question and how to just kind of work on that. And then different ways of doing meditation, magical readings. It's by Sasha Graham. You'll recognize the art from the Darkwood Tarot, probably kind of that style, right? Horror Tarot also. It's really fun. Talks about fairy tales and tarot. It goes through the card meanings of each of the cards in case you don't know those. And the newest one I'm going to show you is the Tarot Grimoire by Ethany Dawn. And this felt like spooky season to me. Benabel Wynn did the forward by this, and it's about spreads and spells for a magical life. So it takes each of the cards and goes through them by the suits, and it has a spell and a spread for everything. And it's really well done, and it was kind of a different look at things. So you can do a spell and a spread. And it's just a fun little book and this is new. It just came out. All right, next I'll show you some spreads. And there's 3 spreads we're gonna do as part of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This spread is from the Barberry Tarot. It is the Mirror and the Guide spread. And it's a general spread that you can use for almost anything. And I'm just gonna lay out the cards and show you the spread and not go over it in detail because of how long this video is gonna be. So we're gonna start with Show Me Myself in the Situation. So this is the Ludi Lescott Tarot, which is out of print. Okay, so we got the Knight of Pentacles for Showing Me Myself. Then next we're going to have Show Me What Part of Myself Can Be Improved. The 5 of Cups, so I can see things in a different light. Give me advice for improving myself in this situation. And we have the 6 of Wands. And show me what part of myself can be highlighted regarding the situation. And we have the Sun. Give me advice for highlighting myself. And we have Judgment. And then probable outcome if I follow the advice. And we have 4 of Pentacles. Interesting. All right, so that is the mirror and the guide spread. And I will write all these spreads out and put them down below so that you have them. So that's the Barberry Tarot, or the Barberry Tarot spread, and using the Ludi Lescott deck. The guidebook, finally, the larger guidebook came back into print for this deck, but this spread is in the smaller guidebook. So it is, there's a vampire spread in here, and there's a fear spread, secret fear spread, and that's the one we're going to do today. And it talks, you can look in any area of your life and what your fear is. You don't pick a specific fear, you just pick like a general area. Like, what am I afraid of in a relationship? And then you lay it out. What is my secret fear? 8 of Wands. How does it affect me psychologically? 9 of Swords, makes you anxious. How does it affect me practically? 9 of Cups. What should I do mentally to counter this? The 7 of Swords. What should I do in practical terms to counter this? The 6 of Pentacles. And if I follow this advice, the outcome will be the 10 of Cups. So, wow, okay. So that is the Bohemian Gothic Secret Fears spread. And I am just going to talk about the guidebook here for this deck. It has a lot of spreads in it, and it even has one of the spreads from the Tarot of Prague. But the guidebook in this deck is really amazing. It is available now. If you've ever wanted it, I would get it now. This will go out of print, and then when it goes out of print, it's almost impossible to find, and it goes into a lot of depth about each of these cards. If you have interest in this tarot and these cards, it is available now, and the guidebook really adds something to this deck, in my opinion. All right, next I'm going to show you a spread I created for this season. It's called The Witch's Cauldron, a Spooky Season Tarot spread. Actually, I should have brought out a witchy deck for this, but I am going to use the Dead Weight for this one, which is just an RWS by Tarot Collectibles. It's a really fun deck, and I really enjoy it. And it's easy, I think, for everybody to read, so I'll use it. And it's a fun spooky season deck. It is also an indie deck, but this is just for demonstration purposes. So you can lay this out however you want, and I will leave this down below so you can use it for spooky season. First position is the Witch's Brew. What ingredients are you blending to create personal magic? And by ingredients, I just mean what strengths are you bringing in. So bringing in some hope and things. And oops, I'm not reading it. I'm just showing you the spread because of time. And next we have the Sacred Circle. What protection do you need to cast around yourself? What boundaries help you stay grounded? And we have the King of Swords. And then Cloak of Shadows. What hidden aspects of yourself are ready to be confronted? So the 3 of Pentacles there. And then we have the Enchanted Flame. What passion or desire needs to be rekindled? And how can you ignite this fire? And we have the 7 of Pentacles. We have the Spellbook of Secrets. What wisdom or lesson from the past should you draw upon to guide you through the spooky season? And we have the Queen of Cups. So that's just a little fun spooky season spread using the Dead Weight Tarot. The next prompt is 2 pieces of paraphernalia. So for that, I am going to show you, one of the things I'm going to show you is incense, because I often use incense when I do my readings. And you don't have to do this with your hands. You could use little tongs. I don't know where my tongs are right this second, but I often just do this until I get it just kind of sparking and going. You'll feel it get hot pretty quickly, but you see that sparking. And so I do not recommend doing it this way. I have 2 different incenses here, one for Scorpio and one for the Hallows. I I think I'll use Scorpio incense for this. We're in Scorpio season at this point. So I'll just take a little spoonful and put it, and I always put it in a little cauldron or something that I can put a lid on if I want to close up and go away. Gives things a little bit of a witchy mood. So I enjoy using incense. So that is one of my pieces of paraphernalia I like to use when I do my tarot readings. And some of these just smell so good. I am using Alchemy Works incense. I often make my own. And I'm not going to show you much of what's in here, because what I'll do maybe is later go back and add it into the video, because I'll put this spread in. So anyway, this is a grimoire I got for this type of season. Sometimes I'll create my own. Sometimes I'll buy something and then add something in. And then I'll probably just put it in. It probably won't be even, and I might even fold it and tuck it in a pocket or something. So one of the pieces of paraphernalia I enjoy working on is grimoires. All right, one other piece of paraphernalia that I always use is candles, and different candles for different things. This is a brand new one and has glitter in it, but I enjoy using candles. And the last part of the prompt is one tarot card that embodies what you want to be or advice. And I picked the art card in the Thoth deck, because this represents the alchemical coming back together, and you're going from the lovers where you're dissolving and becoming one, and you notice the lion's red and the eagle's white, and here the lion's white and the eagle's red. And so this represents a coming back together and forming something that's really more what you want to be, that's more in line with who you are. So I picked the art card. All right, thanks for watching. See ya.